Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. The fellas are continuing to take a look at some of the bigger games in the week one slate of the college football season. And we're moving on and taking a look at Florida State and LSU. Guys, before we get into it, just wanted to say thank you for all the support you guys have shown the channel. If you guys do like the content, consider subscribing. More importantly, drop your picks below. The fellas are trying to get some winners to start the college football season. We appreciate it. Become a 585er and join the community. Dill, I'm going to kick it to you. The line, LSU comes in favored at 3 points. What's your initial lean on this game?
I'd be lying if I said I trust either of these teams and in terms of liking a side, just because I feel like they've both been down for kind of a while and very down. But I guess at the end of the day, I'd say LSU has by far the best unit on this field, and that's going to be their defense, who I really don't see Florida State scoring on. So I guess my lean would be LSU.
Yeah, I kind of echo that. The talent at LSU is phenomenal. And part of the reason why Coach O was forced out, was this team was so talented, and it was just significantly underperforming. Know who's a coach that doesn't underperform with really good talent? Brian Kelly. I mean, that dude just wins the games he's supposed to win. He is a very consistent, successful head coach, and I think that's going to rub off on this LSU program. I want to talk a little bit about the quarterbacks. Jordan Travis is a guy that he's gotten better every single year. The more starting reps he's gotten, the better he's played. And then LSU, you have three guys that could potentially start. Who are you giving the nod to at the quarterback spot?
For LSU, I mean, my inclination is Jaden Daniels, just because he's the only one I think you've seen play legitimately good football at the college level. Not that he's played awesome. I mean, he was okay or good, not great at Arizona State as a freshman and never really made a ton of progress since then. But he was on some weak teams in Arizona State and a weak culture for sure under Herm Edwards. So I'll give him the nod, but I don't know. It's I don't really trust either of them.
I think it's, for one, significantly disagree. I think Jaden Daniels might be the worst quarterback out of the three. At the end of the day, there's three quarterbacks. Brian Kelly's going to pick the guy who's ready to rock and roll. I think it's probably going to be Miles Brennan. He's favored the veterans pretty much his whole tenure at Notre Dame, always going with the veteran guy who's going to get it done. Now, what I want to talk more about, and you mentioned it, is I don't know how Florida State is scoring on this LSU team. This LSU defense is absolutely loaded. You take a look at that defensive line. I think it's a top 5 unit in the country, maybe even top 3. Ali Gay, stud. You have B.J. Ojolari, who is even better. Mason Smith and Jacqueline Roy on the inside. That four-man rotation is disgusting, and it's going up against a team in Florida State that really can't pass protect. Jordan Travis is going to be running for his life. As long as LSU can keep him in the pocket, I think LSU is going to smother him on defense.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is Jordan Travis, he's pretty good running for his life and frankly does make plays when he's forced in the chaos, which was essentially his whole game against Notre Dame last year, and they did score some points on that defense. So there is that, but I'm kind of with you. I don't see how this offensive line gives any protection against LSU, and I don't know. They're going to need to have magic plays like they had against Notre Dame, and I just don't see them making enough of those. That seems like an anomaly.
And on the other side, and the one optimistic thing I do want to note for Florida State is they were one of the worst Power 5 teams in the wide receiver room last year. Just no explosive plays, no playmaking from the guys on the perimeter. They bring in some guys. Obviously, Winston Wright gets banged up, but guys like Micah Pittman, I think, can give a little spark to this Florida State pass catching unit. But at the end of the day, I just don't think Jordan Travis is going – I don't think he has the skill set necessarily to throw from the pocket. I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to throw from the pocket against this LSU defensive line that is phenomenal. Also held by a talented group of transfers in the secondary. On the offensive side of the ball for LSU, got to run the football. I think that's the key to the game for them.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I don't think LSU is going to score a zillion points. I'd be kind of surprised if they hit 24 just – based on what I think their offense is going to look like. And Florida State does have talent on defense. I don't think they're not great. They're not LSU for sure, but I think they're good enough to stop LSU this year. I think a lot of teams will stop LSU.
I do think Florida State has a very good defensive line. Like they added Jared Verse. They have some good edge rushers. I'm a huge fan of the guys they have at the interior. The key is, and what hurt LSU so badly last year is they were dreadful running the football. Couldn't block. Running backs couldn't make people miss. You have guys like John Emery Jr., Noah Cain transfers from Penn State. Two very talented high school recruits, especially John Emery. If they can get the run game going, and we talked about this during the LSU preview, if they could run the ball better, which Jaden Daniels might help in fairness, I think this offense is going to run a lot more because the pass catchers on this LSU team, extremely good. Keyshawn Boutte, Jack Beck, Jeray Jenkins, Brian Thomas Jr., really talented group of guys. You got to figure out how to get them the ball, but I do think it starts with establishing some sort of productive run game.
Yeah, and I LSU kind of interesting on their offensive line because you really don't know what it's going to be. It's like they're losing basically everybody you played last year, but that's probably a good thing because it was really weak. So you're getting a clean slate there, and we'll see if they can make it work. If their offensive line's solid and they get like slightly above average quarterback play, they'll probably kind of handle Florida State, frankly. But I don't know. I don't know how you can trust that. I just don't know how you can trust this quarterback room. It's been so bad for 2 years, like as bad as any team in the country.
There's two teams right here in Florida State and LSU that are very talented, just have significantly underperformed the last couple of years, and they're facing off, which makes me just want to like hold my nose and bet it because I'm going to bet it. Sunday night game, I'm jacked up for it. But it's two teams that I don't like putting my money behind because they both seem to underperform. What I want to talk a little bit about before we get to our picks, you look at LSU's last 5 games of their schedule, barring that Kansas State bowl game where they just didn't have any scholarship players available. They play Alabama tight. They lose to Arkansas in overtime, and then they beat Texas A&M. Like, they started playing a better brand of football down the stretch versus a Florida State team that you didn't really like anything you saw there. They lose to a really bad Florida team on the road. They barely beat a Boston College team. They did beat Miami, but I think Florida State just wasn't as good. And when it comes to picking an ACC team versus an SEC team, I'm going to lean with the SEC team.
Yeah, unless you're Clemson, it's like who in the ACC you picking to beat the big dogs in the South? Like, frankly, nobody. So I'll take that. It's like I would almost like my gut's telling me to just take a fly on Florida State because I feel like it should be even because I have no sense of who should win this. Although that is like stupid, but that's just what my gut tells me.
It's got the line's gone down from 5.5 to 3. If it gets inside of 3, I think this is like a whale play for me. At 3, I still like it. I think LSU is a very talented football team, and what they did getting in Brian Kelly, you're not going to see this team underperform. You're not going to see them play below their talent level. That's not what Brian Kelly teams do. They play to their playing level. They don't necessarily go over it, but they damn sure don't like play bad. And so I think you're going to see an LSU team that's going to play a more disciplined brand of football. And again, as long as that offensive line plays a little bit better and they can run the football at just an average clip. And it was so bad last year. Like a Florida State team that doesn't exactly stop the run extremely well. I think they will be able to win this game. And I love it. It's in New Orleans, I believe. So it's kind of a home game for LSU. I know we'll get some Florida State fans in there because Florida State's by this place. I like the Tigers to cover 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me my pick, it's like just the way we described it as 2 underperforming teams that you got to hold your nose to watch. Like that screams under to me, especially when the under is 51.5, which granted is not a high college football over-under, but still, I just don't really see Florida State scoring, and I don't see LSU getting to like 40 points. So that's probably my inclination. It's just like Florida State, I wouldn't be surprised they don't get 10 points.
And to go back to your point, if I didn't like a side so much, like I really do like LSU to cover 3 points, I would favor the under. Like I lean under there, but I just the line has come down. If you put this at a touchdown, then you're getting to the point where, okay, I might take a fly on this Florida State money line because it's 2 teams that are very talented. It could go either way at a neutral site. The number's so small. I'm just going to go with the better team. I'm not going to overthink it. I put a lot of work into watching LSU.
Florida State is kind of a gamer team, though. They're more of a team that, like, they'll give you some really weak showings against, like, a Jacksonville State, but they, like, kind of game up. Like, they played Notre Dame really tough last year. They played Miami really tough. I feel like there's something about them where they play pretty good in big games typically, and then will lose to like bad teams like FCS teams. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the sides. Just my gut's telling me no side, but I love the under. I do love that.
All right, there we go. You have it, guys. Let us know in the comment section which you guys are on. Appreciate you guys checking us out, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.